What's it YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr, bringing you another live duel from locals. And on the left I'm playing DDDs and on my right it is Dracotail. Now apologies on this one, I forgot to record until a little bit later on. So as you can see, I've been hit with a Nibiru. This was my first turn setting up my field, got hit with a Nibiru and a Ghost Bell, passed over to my opponent. Luckily for me, they only opened up Nibiru 2 trap cards and they didn't really have any Dracotail engine. So he was able to pass back to me after taking the Nibiru, taking away the Nibiru token. So started off with Count Surveyor. This has been able to get me into my Copernicus. I've normal summoned down the Copernicus to send a Necro Slime from deck to grave. And now I see what my opponent is on. So we used the Dracotail Sting to banish the Necro Slime, because obviously if that was able to resolve, I've got plenty of DDs in the graveyard, so they had to preemptively do this before anything else. We're now going to use the brand new Zero Gate. This is going to allow me to destroy my own Ragnarok, and this will then trigger a chain of events. So we'll resolve the brand new Zero. This will allow me to get a monster from the deck to the field, and this is where I kind of go for Orthoros. And the reason behind this one is I've already got the Queen coming out of the extra deck. That will then threaten to destroy the spell or trap or destroy the monster. Then I can move into Siegfried, which would then answer the trap as well. So I've been able to kind of clear everything out with a clear field. My opponent has now hit me with a Fua. I've basically kind of taken the approach of, if I was to summon from the extra deck, which at this exact moment in time, I've got a Count Surveyor as an 8. I've got another one from the grave. So I'll bring back the Lance by destroying, attempt to use the Lance, sorry, to destroy the Dark Contract. That gets hit with another Ghost Bell. So the opening hand was Nibiru, Sting, Horn, 2 Ghost Bells and a Fua. And I can imagine the Fua was drawn for turn. Otherwise they would have Fua'd me in turn number 1. So on this one, they're top decking. And I'm just doing the maths of like what top deck could they possibly get with what they have in a Dracotail strategy that gets them anywhere. And honestly, I don't think there is anything. So I'm just going to poke with the Queen for 3,000. Pass the turn, let them top deck, and there isn't anything there. So they go for another Fua. That's just, yeah, unfortunately Fua on this one. So I'm now like, and then I just switched to attack, and I had already done 3,000, so that's just enough for game. Anyway, swiftly move into game 2. This is going to be a very, very kind of quick duel for everyone to see. So start off with Ketu. I believe my hand is Ash, and I was saving the Ash for either one of the trap cards or for a Rahu. And I think I've also got, I've got 2 Nibs and a Fua. So we do a Fua. It might not have been an Ash, actually. It might have been a, I know there's 2 Nibs in the hand, and he plays around it really well. Because it would have only been Greed that would have hit the Nibs, because it was like the Fuas. So he basically activates Feymena, chain the Fua to guarantee the draw. I think I either draw into a second Nibiru, or I don't draw into anything that's going to be like mass effect, like help right now. So we've got the Feymena fused with Mululu and Ghost Mourner, setting the trap card, which is Flame, and then using the Arfulion to recycle the Feymena and the Mululu. So I now know that he's got a Feymena which will fuse and negate, and will probably end up going into a Gulamel, which will then destroy a card. And I've got Flame, and then I'm sitting there with 2 Nibirus that I'm like, these aren't going to do anything. They just haven't played into it. Because usually what you'd expect, well, I say even usually what you would expect. So they're going to normal summon the Mululu, which is going to give the ability for another fusion summon, which guarantees that, you know, even if I clear stuff off, he doesn't need to rely on the Feymena. I think if I remember right, like maybe it's not a Fua that I draw on. I'm pretty sure I don't draw anything that's like going to be that effective for me. There's a lot to try and play around here. So we're going to activate Dark Contract, just activating it to confirm it, then using the effect to search. That is allowed to go through. So I know the Flame is there, and I know that they're probably trying to save the Flame for the Queen. So we go for Copernicus. I'm pretty sure actually the draw for Fua was the Queen. So we go for the Copernicus. That's get hits with Effect Vader straight away. And I'm sitting there like, scale 1 Queen. Attempt to use the effective Queen. That's going to hit with Flame. I'm just double checking that Flame doesn't negate and destroy. So the activation was fine. It's just the effective Queen that was negated, which is why it stays on the field and not the activation of it. And now I've just got nothing left. I had no other Pendulum Scales. What I should have done, and I should have thought about this a little bit more, is I probably should have gone for a higher scale. And then I would have had Queen, higher scale, but no Copernicus. And I probably should have just penned out like... I can't pen out Nibiru actually, because the scale's only got up to 10. I think the best I could have done would have been pen out a Queen, but I could have used Queen's effect, which would have baited the Flame, and then penned out the Queen. And I suppose turn the queen into the Deus Ex or the Machina X. But then, yeah, we're just going to get hit with a Gulamel. Gulamel's going to destroy the contract. Set one off of the back of that. So this is all during my turn. So it's like Feymana, popping stuff off. And I'm like, without Queen being in the extra deck as well, you don't have her effect to come out and non-target destroy, which is really disappointing. And I'm just sat there. I think my hand's like, again, 2 Nibirus and another Queen. So I think eventually, when keeping the clock in mind, like I don't think we haven't had like a long game 1 or a long game 2 right now. So keeping that in mind, I'm kind of like, where does this go though? So the Rahu's gonna perform a fusion summon, 1 in hand, 1 in field, set 2, gets another Ophulion. I'm just doing the maths here. I'm like, unless my opponent gets greedy, like the only reason of hanging on here is if my opponent gets greedy or gets Lapsical and runs into a Nibiru. But honestly, once they get this second Ophulion on the field, I'm like, well, they've already played round Nibiru like semi, or just didn't want to give me as many draws on Fua. I'm like, you might as well scoop it up. Anyway, on this one, I make my opponent go first. I know it's a bit risky, but I kind of went with, like, I assumed and played the game that they might have sided out the trap cards. So I was like, not only will it catch them off guard, but it also means if they know the DDD strategy, they're going to want to play Dark Ruler no more. And I can play around that now. Like, I don't need to worry about Dark Ruler no more. I can play into a Fua, or they can play into a Fua, which is exactly what's happening here. It's like deja vu, because we go Ketu, search out Feymana, and they do use Mululu and Ghost Spell again. And I'm like, deja vu. And I'm hoping it's not going to end in the same way. Luckily, I don't have like multiple Nibiru stuck in my hand right now. So we're in a much better position than we previously were. But we're still kind of playing this out. So I think I've got a Dark Contract. I think I've got a Count Surveyor. And I think I draw a Griffin. Or I've got 2. I think it might be 2 Scales instead, actually. But yeah, so we're just resolving the chain here. So he's got Arfulion, gets to target 2 to revive or like add back to the hand. Go for the Horn. So this kind of shows that they left 1 trap card in. And I think that's usually what most will do with Dracotail if they expect to go second, is that they'll only leave 1 trap card in, and they kind of pass it here. So I'm like, I can play around Horn quite nicely. So we're going to activate Harpy's Feather Duster. We drew that off the top, just to get rid of the Horn, so that I don't need to play as defensively, like everything in defense. We then discard the Necro Slime for our Count Surveyor. Count Surveyor is then going to search us out a Queen. Queen can then scale, and what I'm doing here is I'm just holding my normal summon as much as I possibly can. So Queen's going to get me the 0 gate. 0 gate, destroy the Queen. Resolving the 0 gate, destroying the Queen, summoning out Copernicus to send. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm summoning monsters that either say you have to negate me, or if you were to return me with like an Arfulion fusion summon, I'm still going to get the advantage in the graveyard that I need. So we send the Lance, we activate the Dark Contract with the gate, we search out another extender, and what we're doing now is we're kind of solidifying ourselves against interruptions. Like if a Nibiru happens, I've still got Swell Slime and Lancer in the grave. They Ghost Spell the Lancer straight away, which I knew they already had the Ghost Spell, so it's like I wasn't worried about it. Summon down the Griffin, and I'm now just debating, like, do I just go Link free, or do I go, like, where do I go to try and be protective on this one? Because I've got to keep in mind that there's still 3 cards left in hand. 1 could still be a Nibiru. I've already faced that. I still have the Swell Slime in the graveyard, and all you really need with DDDs is to get 2 DDs on the field, and straight away you're going to be able to summon out your Gilgamesh and then set your scale. So I still have that, because, well, I say I still have that, actually. I don't, because I should have kept, what I should have done is, where possible, I probably should have kept my Griffin in the hand and summoned down the scale converter, the scale, which I'm just doing now, because at least the scale would modulate itself to level 4, and it requires you to have a DD pendulum monster, whereas the thingy doesn't, the Griffin doesn't. Anyway, summon out Gilgamesh. This then gets hit with Phantasme. Phantasme is going to summon down and draw 2, put 1 back. I decided to go for the bigger scales now, so I've got Queen and I've got Kepler, so I've got a 0 to 10. So my plan is to go like uber aggressive right now, where possible. And they knew that they had to Phantasme, because the next play I make, when I make the Link 3 can negate, like the Abyss King Zeus can negate the Phantasme. And the next play that I make would also negate the Feymana, which is why they now need to use Feymana to fuse. And I'm in a good position, because unless they go Arfulion to deal with they would have had to go Arfulion to deal with Swell Slime in the graveyard. So you would have needed to use 2, and I don't think he has 2 Dracotail names in the hand. So he can only use 1. So he has to use the Arfulion on the field and then the Cartasia in the hand, and he decides to go for the Crown. The Crown can be quite annoying because the Crown is one of the ones that if a monster uses effect to summon a monster of the same type, you can target to banish it, which can be quite annoying because that's like if I use Necro Slime, they can banish the Genghis on the summon. So we're going to King Tail. Now trying to figure out the only other last card in the hand could be a Nibiru. So now we're just doing a Nibiru check, and then we're going to move on and go into the Zeus, using the King Tail to send. Now at this moment in time, I've taken out the Defense Soldier. Oh no, I haven't. Oh, I lie. I thought I had taken out the Defense Soldier. So now what I've got here is Defense Soldier can bring me back one of my Pendulum monsters so that I can Pendulum summon, so that can get me the Copernicus back from the grave. I've got Necro Slime that I've still got to be careful of because that just... So now I've got to try and out the Crown. So what I want to do is I want to destroy one of my cards because destroying one of my cards will get me the Queen, and the Queen will then destroy the Crown. But then I also want to get Ragnarok. So I've got Ragnarok in the hand, and I'm like, if I get Ragnarok down, that will threaten the Crown, and then that will also bait out the Phantasme, and then the Phantasme negates and destroys, which then gets me the Queen. So I get a 2-for-1 kind of pop. So we're going for the Pendulum Summon here. We're going to summon Ragnarok from the hand, and then we're summoning Queen. Is it Queen? No, then we're summoning the Scale, and we're summoning the Count from the extra deck, turning the Scale into a level 4. And then this is the point where it's like, right, well, I wanted to get the extra monster on the field. I keep saying Scale. I'm pretty sure it is Scale. Where is it? Yeah, it is Scale. I thought I was going crazy. So we're going to use Ragnarok to tribute off the Count to try and get rid of the Majesty. In return, it's now like either the Majesty goes, and then I don't worry about Phantasme because I'm not going to target any of the other cards. I don't need to. I can just kill it by battle. Or we're going to use Phantasme's effect to negate and destroy. And when it negates and destroys, we then just go, okay, cool, thank you, Queen, summon out. So that's exactly what happens. So Phantasme negates, destroys the Ragnarok. Queen then summons out. And we're just checking this on Crown because Crown is an if effect. So what happens with Queen is all in one effect to summon and then non-target destroy. So Queen summons, non-target, destroys the Crown, and then Crown can't activate because it's no longer on the field. So we've been able to get rid of Crown. We've been able to bait out the Phantasme. There's no cards left in the hand, so we're top decking again. Now we're just going to go pretty much ham on this one. So it's just about pushing for the OTK. I still haven't destroyed a card for an additional Pendulum Summon yet. We're just checking if I'd normal summon this turn, and I think on review, I still don't believe that I did normal summon. I'll have to double check this, but I was just like, cool, normal summon down Orpheros. Synchro those two together for Siegfried. The only difference would have been if I had normal summoned is I would have had to have used... I could just use the Zeus Ragnarok to destroy one of my contracts and then get an additional Pendulum Summon. So, yeah, and then this just pushes in for the OTK. So that's pretty much it for the entire duel. Hopefully it's giving you a bit of an insight into the DDDs. It obviously wasn't piloted perfect, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're looking at. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. Hopefully this has been quite informative for you as well. I know it went at a bit of a pace, so feel free to slow it down should you wish to. I just quite like to, you know, I don't want there to be a lot of the thinking time with these type of duels. I think they're pretty much more effective just going, not full speed, but going forward to give you all the information as possible. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.